Brilliant. There we go. We are away. So let me just set up the screen a little bit. Okay, so welcome everybody to this masterclass titled How to Forecast Your Year Ahead Using Astrology Almanac. But almanacs aren't compulsory, but they're just very helpful because they've got all of the information in them that we need to forecast the year ahead. So I will just show you quickly that this is the almanac if you haven't seen it already. I just love the artwork. It is like, I've been all about the artwork. I'm so excited about it. By the lovely Louise McTaggart of Instagram, Phoenix Feathers Art. She's amazing. And it was just like, I needed the artwork to be perfect because I really feel like the planets need honoring in this very Venusian way. And they just really need, all the other planners I've seen over the years just haven't done it for me. So I was just like, this is just really important. This is why I've waited so long until the timing was right and that I've met Louise and that we could get going with the correct artwork. So yeah, just a little bit about the artwork there. And today or this evening, we're going to be discussing eclipses, new moons and full moons, planetary directions, the major transits, and a little bit about the horoscopes of 2024. And yeah, and then I'll just talk a little bit about at the end about how you can pick up your almanac if you haven't got one already. And I'm also aware that I'm mostly going to be referring to the physical planner, but I will kind of talk through how to do things on the digital planner as well. Yeah, so let's get going. So basically, the very first page of the almanac just kind of talks roughly about the main kind of ways to kind of get to use this almanac to get the most from it. So for example, each month contains new moon manifesting page, full moon fruit gratitude page, key astrological dates. And then my absolute favorite part of it, which is what we're going to talk about a lot today, is the blank birth charts. So I'm going to flick to one of those pages. So there is a blank birth chart at the end of every single month, which looks like this. So it's set up with whole sign houses. So yeah, it's not adjustable for any kind of other house system. However, you could possibly like draw your own lines in if you wanted to kind of alter it for Placidus or something like that. But yeah, it is set up on this whole sign house system. And a lot of the work that we're going to be talking about tonight is focusing on houses and where these eclipses and transits and planetary directions are going to be showing up for us on an individual level over 2024. And so I've kind of highlighted what do we call them? Why can't I think of the word? The sort of crux points of the birth chart, which are the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th houses, the stakes, that's the word. And with these 4 houses, these are the kind of pins in your birth chart that kind of hold it to the sky. And so that's why the birth time is so important, so that we can, you know, really see every single area of our lives and where, you know, which zodiac sign is kind of falling in which life area for ourselves. And as you guys may or may not know, when it comes to the stakes, so imagining that this is literally your birth chart as a kind of image, or it's on like a silk scarf or something, and you're literally holding it up to the night sky, and you're just going to put some drawing pins in it, and you would put the drawing pins in the 1st and the 7th and then the 4th and the 10th, just to hold that kind of silk scarf there, so that you've kind of, you know, got this snapshot in time. And that is why the angles, or the 1st, the 4th, the 7th and the 10th houses, speak so loudly in our experience. So if you've got you know, thinking about the idea of the modalities. So if you've got fixed angles, then fixed energies will be really powerful in your lifetime and in your kind of journey through your karma of this lifetime. If you've got mutable angles, then that will be an emphasis in your lifetime. If you've got cardinal angles, that will be an emphasis in your lifetime. Yeah, that's all of them, isn't it? Yeah, cardinal, mutable, fixed. Have we done them all? Yeah. Sorry. Oh dear. Yeah. And so I think, yeah, just the idea is that with each of these birth charts, you can use them however you want. This is your almanac. It's entirely up to you. My thinking with this is that I would grab like some colorful pencils or pens, and I would draw. So say, for example, I'm a Cancer ascendant. So Cancer is on my first house, and it's cardinal water. So I would literally draw in, you know, my Cancer ascendant signs. I'm just going to draw it in really quickly there. Can't really see because it's a pencil, but anyway, yeah, so I would draw Cancer in blue so that I know that it's water, and then I would go around each of the houses and just put in the different colors for the different elements as well, just so that I can, the idea is that, you know, anyone can pull up a chart on astro.com or AstroSeek or, you know, Astro Gold, something like that. But this, because it's supposed to really be empowering us to kind of really feel like our birth charts, dive into our birth charts, find it's like a tangible thing, like quite a Taurian thing, quite a Venus thing that we can actually kind of touch and hold and kind of draw in and kind of experience our birth charts. And that's why I really wanted to make it something that we could kind of draw on ourselves, and fill in, you know, any of the eclipses and, you know, planetary directions and aspects and transits that will be coming up over the next year. So yeah, there's one of those on every single month. Obviously, you can fill them in for like family members as well, which I like the idea of. And I've put a little thing on my website, which is like a download, which is just like a kind of little sketchbook that's just full of like a few pages of these. It's a digital one at the moment, but like a digital download, so you could download it and just kind of print them off, so that you can literally just, it's almost like if you're interested in doing a family tree, this is such a great way to really feel into like your family and their energies. And, you know, if you're using the colored pencils for all the different elements, then you can really start to build up a picture of like, there's so much fire in my life, or there's so much water or earth or something like that. And throughout the year of 2024, you can really kind of start to grasp that and be like, God, I'm surrounded by like fire signs, or I'm surrounded by earth signs, and really see how that's kind of playing into your own life, you know. So there's those every single month. There's also the new moon pages for manifesting, as you guys probably know, and just the full moon pages as well. So yeah, as you guys probably know, that the new moon is always an ideal time for intention setting, to go through any kind of ritual. So I always have this daydream that I'm going to like light some incense and some candles, and I'm going to make this great big kind of honoring experience to new moon manifesting. And because life is just a bit mental, generally those bits don't happen, but I am always intention setting like throughout the year, very much so at that new moon time, which is a very quiet time. It's a very inward time. And you know, I used to get a bit confused because I'd be like, God, yeah, new moon, I've got to start something new. Possibly because I've got cardinal angles, so I love initiating new things, but then I'm always so tired at the new moon. But that's exactly as we should be. You know, we should be experiencing the new moon just as that peace, you know, it's not an active outward energy, it's a very inward energy and a kind of meditative energy to allow whatever needs to come up to come up. So I always think at a new moon, it's a really good time to kind of honor nature in any way that you can. Like I said, I'm not very good at kind of setting the scene for myself, but I can always go for a quick walk outside and just kind of connect with the earth and the trees and the soil, and just that kind of mother nature energy, which is kind of like forever inspiring us. And that is, new moons are the perfect time to be kind of sowing those new seeds and kind of thinking, okay, what do I want to manifest over the next 6 months? Because the new moon is always the beginning of a phase that is going to culminate at the full moon 6 months later. The eclipses are the sort of exaggerated version of this story, and they cover much bigger periods of time. And so the eclipses move in kind of 18.5-year cycles roughly. So we repeat eclipse cycles every kind of 18.5 years. And the eclipse energy is always like exaggerated new moons and exaggerated full moons. And there's often a very kind of fated and soulful energy that comes with eclipses, because it's just hugely emphasized. And also, interestingly, if you live on a line where you can view that eclipse in the world, so if the eclipse is kind of going through your hometown, then it's going to be impacting you much more loudly. As well, if you're relocated from where you were born and the eclipse is back in your hometown, it's still going to impact you greatly because it's impacting your natal chart. So I think that's kind of like a really exciting thing to think about as well. So yeah, again, with these going back to the birth charts that you get each month, I would be putting in, okay, so we've got a new moon in Sagittarius coming up in a couple of days' time. For me, that is, sorry, that's not someone joining, that's just a notification, okay. And another one, I don't know how to turn those off on this. So new moon coming up in Sagittarius, and for me, that's going to be in my 6th house. So I would literally just draw a little crescent moon there. And it's going to be a fire sign and it's going to be mutable. So I might just kind of doodle a little energy, you know, a little drawing of like, what do I feel is mutable? I might just start coloring in that section of the almanac. If I was on the digital version, then what you can do is most of the PDF readers, mostly I've used the digital version through my phone, but it is available. It's possible to use it on a tablet or an electric device, that's the one, or even a laptop. And the PDF readers out there, most of them are editable, if that's the word. And so that you can kind of use, there's different like pen options and like, you know, nib thicknesses and stuff like that, and colors, and you can really go to town on it. And just always remember to save it after you've done your kind of journaling for the day or for the week, or however you're going to kind of set up your journaling practice. Also to say that there is a notes section in the back, which isn't as big as I would like it to be, but next year it will be much bigger, which looks a bit like this, so that you can just kind of doodle away, and you can kind of reference back to specific dates that you know got inspired by and things like that, so that you can kind of cross-reference and things. And my kind of dream for the physical planners, I've lost the front cover now. Yeah, my dream for the physical planners is that, you know, in a few months' time, they'll be like a bit dog-eared, and I really hope to see people like sharing images of them in Instagram and stuff, because they've been like shoved in people's handbags and then kind of pulled out and, you know, pulled apart. And that was kind of one of the major reasons that I chose that particular binding, because it's just so practical. Even though the other bindings look really lovely, that is just, you know, the spiral binding all the way is my way to go, because I want it to be an active document that's being used kind of regularly throughout the year. And I've kind of shared about this on social media recently, but over the last few months, I've just been like, where's my almanac for this year? Like it's been born out of something that I've been really wanting. And I've been wanting to kind of, not even to enhance my own astrology in terms of like my career, but literally just as a human being, I've just been wanting to like really tuck into my own chart, and in quite a selfish, you know, like navel gazing way, I'm like, yeah, I want to get stuck into this, and I want to write my notes out, and I want this to just be something that I've always got on me. I want to write notes about like the kids experiencing their transits, and, you know, we've got a new moon in, you know, their 5th houses, and how they're experiencing, you know, with the 5th house being about children. Obviously, when it comes to children, it's not going to be about that for them. It's going to be far more the theme of like creativity, you know, possibly understanding that a little bit about their relationships with other people, things like that, and just how they have fun as well. So let's just tuck into the eclipses. So basically, there's some key dates here as well, like cross-quarter dates and solstices, and there's little symbols next to them. And if you find these symbols within the planner, that's what they reference. So on the particular page where we've got Imbolc, for example, 1st of Feb, let's get back to that. Then it doesn't say Imbolc, but there is the symbol for Imbolc, which is this one. So yeah, sorry, I'm like hearing noises. Is that my child? It probably is. Never mind. He's with his dad, by the way. Yeah, so that is the kind of cross quarter days and the solstices. And let's move into, okay, and so this is the page that's got the lunations and the eclipses on it. So all of the new moons and full moons for the whole year ahead. And the new moon eclipses are these symbols here, and then the full moon eclipses are these symbols here. And so we've actually got 3 full moon eclipses next year, so lunar eclipses, and then we've got 2 new moon solar eclipses next year. And so they would be key dates that I would be kind of wanting to mark out in the diary. When's the first one? 25th of March. So let's have a look at that one. February 25th. Give me a second. Yeah. Okay, so that's here. Yeah, 25th of March, and we've got a lunar eclipse in Libra, and there's the degree point as well, so 5 degrees. So I would kind of take note of that, and I'd be thinking, well, there's an eclipse around this time, so you know, emotions are going to be heightened at this time. You know, like feelings, kind of relationships, all of those sorts of things are going to be heightened at these times of the year, and I'm going to be expecting any kind of fated meetings with people kind of coming or going from my life. I'm expecting those themes to be emphasized around about the times of the eclipses throughout the year. Yeah, and it's pretty crazy next year because the eclipses should be in Aries and Libra, but I think we have got some, I think we've got one in Pisces as well, which is crazy because that's like the next bunch of eclipse cycle, but we're already kind of moving into it. So the eclipses change, you know, every 18 months, and you feel like, oh, I've got this whole like really lengthy amount of time to kind of explore this zodiac sign and how it shows up in my own birth chart and in my own life and in the lives of people around me. And then suddenly it's like changing and you're like, hang on a minute, like, oh my God. And obviously with every different zodiac sign change, we've got different houses for us kind of being illuminated and really emphasizing their significance in our daily lives. And with the eclipses as well, the energy of those can really you know, they always travel in pairs, so you get one eclipse and then you get another one 2 weeks later, so you get this kind of almost like 6-week period, you know, a couple of weeks in the build up and 2 weeks kind of afterwards, that is just very intense usually, and just a really powerful time of change and transformation. And it's not always an outer thing, it can be, you know, a bit of an inner thing, but I always think it's a really good thing to be looking back on the last time the eclipses were in those signs. So for example, at the moment we've got Aries and Libra in the eclipse system, Aries North Node, Libra South Node, and I'll be looking back 18.5 years roundabout to see, okay, so how were those eclipses showing up for me last time? And also 9 years ago when they were, you know, in an eclipse reversal. So that would have been North Node in Libra, South Node in Aries. And so their symbolisms, no matter which zodiac pair that are working together, they're always this very opposing energy to each other, which I always find absolutely fascinating, because it's like you can find that I've definitely found with these eclipse pairs at the moment that the North Node in Aries is like this really like crazy, like exciting ride. And that South Node in Libra is very kind of, oh my God, it's super powerful, but in a very different way. And the North Node always has this energy of where we're kind of like really desperate to kind of like itch that, you know, sort of itch that kind of scratch or whatever it is, and really kind of explore a little bit more about it. And the South Node has this kind of diminishing quality and this lessening quality, where we're bringing knowledge in from kind of like previous lifetimes, for example. So we can feel quite self-assured when it comes to the South Node, but it's not necessarily where we want to be placing all of our energy, because it has this draining power and this kind of like, you know, if we're focusing too much on that South Node, we can find that we are kind of like literally physically kind of drained, and finding it's a bit kind of like we've got a bit of a power cut going on, and actually what we want to be doing is trying to, you know, aim for that north node. Not that it's even it's never like ultimately the answer to be moving towards that north node, but there's just this kind of insatiable urge to be experiencing what that north node at that particular time transiting in the sky is kind of calling us to do. And so the other thing that's in here, so basically after the month of January comes all the key information. So there's everything about the retrogrades, the lunations, that kind of thing. But there is also, is it in that bit? 1 second. Maybe I've got the wrong piece. 1 second. Okay, I can't find it at the moment. I will come back to that. I've confused myself. Yeah, no, I can't find it. Okay, we'll come back to that. But basically, there's an image in here somewhere that is just like one of the chart outlines that's got house descriptions, just got keywords in it as well. And that's the same on the digital almanac as well, that you can just use as a reference point. You know, if you're kind of racking your brain, spending hours thinking, what is the 7th house? I just can't remember. Then there's just a key that's got, you know, just you know, punch words just to kind of reignite your mind again. And then once you start kind of journaling on that particular house and how you experience in your life, then perhaps that is, you know, it's, if you've got natal planets in that house as well, then it's more of a kind of emphasis of experiencing karma in this lifetime. And it's just, yeah, a particular emphasis for you. And when you start journaling on it and kind of working through it, perhaps in the notes section at the back, or, you know, in the full moon part or the new moon part that we've got on every month, then, you know, it's really amazing the sorts of things that can start kind of coming up for us when we're kind of working through those things. Planetary directions, we have got all of the Mercury retrogrades and their dates and how long they last for the 2024. So we've got Mercury retrograde. We're actually starting the year on a Mercury retrograde, but then in Sagittarius. So this one we're about to move into, but then it goes direct on the 1st of January. It's a bit of a funny kind of start to the new year. And then we've got another one in April, August and December. No Venus retrogrades in 2024. I feel like I need to do this because Venus retrograde this year has just been like, woo. We have got a Mars retrograde in Leo, so that's going to be a lengthy one, which is, well, it's the very end of next year. So we've got a little bit of time to kind of, yeah, to think into that one. That's in the sign of Leo. So I would be kind of taking the birth chart image and I would be looking, okay, which house is Leo falling in for me and which life area is going to be accented for me at the end of next year. There's a little bit about the Mars retrograde and some of the kind of key transits written up in the horoscope sections, which are just a kind of page long for each rising sign. I've based them on rising signs, not sun signs, but you might find that, you know, you look up your sun, moon and rising and there's a little bit in each of them that actually is starting to make a lot of sense for you. And then if we just move into here, so we've got Pluto finally moving into Aquarius, and then we've got its little dally. Yeah, exactly. Yay! Little dally back into Capricorn. Oh my gosh. And then finally staying in Aquarius as of like 19th of November next year. So that's really exciting. So obviously that's activating this whole transformational experience in your birth chart, in a particular birth chart house. So we can say goodbye to the last, you know, 15 years and the house that it's been totally renovating. So many of these, I love it. And we'll be, you know, starting renovation in a whole new building, you know, and that's very exciting. And also, I've been saying this a lot lately, but I should say it again, that my favorite thing that my teacher, Adam Ellenbass, has said of Nightlight astrology is that Pluto means riches. So we always associate Pluto with being really challenging. And it is, you know, it's very much, you know, sorts the wheat from the chaff and just gets rid of things that are no longer serving us, which can feel brutal. But ultimately, it's for a kind of, you know, there's some rich richness in that, and there is a treasure chest to be found from these experiences. It might just take some time, which is why we have these lengthy transits with Pluto going through each birth chart house for, you know, such a long period of time, so that we can really dig out those riches. Yeah, and then we've got just Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter as well, and the kind of things that they're doing. And so with any station of any planet to change direction, then the emphasis of that planet, the symbolism of that planet is really emphasized. So when Pluto decides to station retrograde on the 2nd of May, then we will just get a, you know, like a really powerful few weeks where, especially with Pluto, because it's an outer planet, I would kind of reduce that amount of time for the closer planets like Mars and Saturn, for example, maybe about a week for those ones. But Pluto and Uranus, Neptune, for example, they, you know, their symbolism of direction change is going to be really kind of powerful and felt for like a few weeks at a time. And so I would expect, you know, people to be really pulling out their almanacs when the planets are changing directions, even with the Mercury retrogrades, you know, just the odd day or so, you know, writing in there, or kind of typing in with the digital version, like how we're feeling about the experience, how we're feeling about that zodiac sign, how we're feeling about that house, for example, in our own birth charts. Okay, and then one of the major transits of next year is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which is happening in the sign of Taurus. So this is around about April time, and this is in, let me just double check. Yeah, there it is. Here we go. So 21st of April, we've got this. So there's a symbols key as well within the almanac and in the digital version. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus. So yeah, Jupiter in Taurus conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And this is probably the transit that most of the astrologers are talking about. It's expansive, optimistic, jovial, benefic Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, very much connected to material things and finances and our experience of the sensual world, connecting with Uranus, this planet of like shocks and surprises, which can be positive or negatively felt, you know, generally either way that we feel Uranus transits, they are usually very surprising, very unexpected, but ultimately there to kind of completely move us on from the direction we thought we were going in, and kind of like change the way that we think about things. And modern astrologers, modern psychological astrologers, feel like Uranus is like the higher octave of Mercury as well. So we can definitely import some of that Mercury symbolism into the symbolism of Uranus as well. So things to do with communications, information, downloads that are kind of coming in from places that aren't necessarily like conversations, but literally moments of kind of divine inspiration, whilst you're just kind of meditatively looking at a flower when you're out walking, for example. That's a very kind of Uranus thing. And it probably would be something connected to nature or the material world, because it's in the sign of Taurus. So we're connecting those themes, kind of the theme of the planet and the zodiac sign together. And then I think we will just talk a little bit about, there's a little bit of artwork as well on every solstice page, which I just get really excited about, because I was like, again, a bit like the cover art, I really just wanted to honor what the solstices meant and what they stand for. And the artist that I was working with was just so amazing, Louise. She just really understood the brief. It was incredible. And she's got the same moon sign as me, so I felt like we were very in sync. And she just really went to town with the kind of notes that I sent her and the symbolism. And so for the summer solstice, there's like a turtle and, you know, floating in the water, and, you know, the sun is high and all of these things. So yeah, I got very excited about that. Yeah, so like I said, there's horoscopes for every single sign. They're about a page long. And generally they are based around the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and then a bit of the Mars retrograde in Leo at the end of next year, and a couple of other bits and bobs. So that's what the horoscopes are all about. I'm just going to flick through and see if I can find that page. I don't know where it's gone. Sorry. Oh yeah, and this is another key as well. So this is just the symbols for like new moons, full moons, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, and sign changes as well. So when planets ingress into a new zodiac sign, when they go retrograde, and when they go direct. So that's a handy little key. Here we go. And there's the astrological symbols with all the zodiac signs, and you kind of sort of follow the line and see where they are. And then also the planets. And then we have the aspects as well, the North Node, South Node, and just more information about kind of terminology, symbols, that kind of thing. So there's always a key to refer back to. There it is. Okay. And then this is the houses key that I was talking about. It's just got some keywords going on around there. And so really, kind of in summary, the idea is that when you're planning your year ahead using the Astrology Almanac, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to work, you might work methodically, you might work randomly. It's entirely up to you. It's your planner. And you're going to go, okay, so I would start with eclipses because I'm ruled by the moon and I just love the moon. So I'm going to go there and kind of follow my passion. So I'm going to key in to each of the dates. I'm going to put them into my book, and I'm going to doodle on my chart image, a bit like this one, and I'm going to put them in, okay, which house are the eclipses falling in over the next year, or which house is this next eclipse falling in for me, or this specific eclipse, and which life areas are going to be emphasized. And because I feel like when you know which houses are going to be emphasized in the year ahead for you, it's just a bit like that, forearmed is forewarned. It's just a little bit of extra information, and it's not predicting what's going to be happening, but it's just like, okay, I can expect that, maybe there's some fourth house stuff coming up, and that my family is going to be a bit of a key player, or perhaps my father, or something about my roots and my ancestry is really going to be illuminated over the next 6 months or 12 months. And then perhaps with that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, maybe that's happening in your 9th house, and all of a sudden, you can almost be like, well, I'm not into astrology right now, or I'm not in university right now, but I'm staying open to the idea that perhaps in 6 months' time, suddenly the idea of higher learning, education, being in a university setting of some kind, or really getting into astrology is, suddenly going to be like an explosion in my life, and it's going to suddenly really catch my attention. And I think that's really useful knowledge to have, so that you can, just kind of go about your days in a regular way, but with this sense that, like, every now and again you might check in with the fates, and you might check in with the stars and the cosmos, and just see how their magic is just kind of aligning in your own life, perhaps the lives of those people around you as well, and how that sometimes I just feel like it's so accurate. I could scream when people are like, oh, astrology, because I'm just like, how can you not see it? It's literally everywhere. And when you start looking for it, I swear, like symbols and, like angel numbers, all of those things, if you believe in, they really start to kind of filter into your everyday. Like, for example, I was in a charity shop earlier, and this author's name that my deceased grandmother really loved, this author's name has been following me around all week, and I know without a doubt, I'm getting goosebumps as I say it, but I know without a doubt that is her. She's coming through, and that energy, and the South Node's in my 4th house right now, so the energy of the ancestors is really kind of there, and I don't find it scary or spooky or anything like that. I find it inspiring, and I find it perfectly aligned with the stars, and so yeah, that's basically the presentation. That's the discussion. Would anybody like to ask any questions or has any comments? I'll see if I can unmute. You don't have to either. All muted. Has it changed? Yeah, I think it might have changed now. Yeah.
I turned myself.
So if anybody has any questions, then I'll happily answer them now, or you can send me an email or contact me on Instagram, or, you know, however you like to get in touch. But yeah, I mean, how are you guys feeling about 2024? Do you feel, you know, what do you feel like do you feel like the Jupiter Uranus conjunction is an exciting one for yourselves? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, actually. Jupiter is my ruling planet because I'm a Sag rising.
Yes.
So, yeah, big expectations. I do have a question.
Yeah.
I was born on a full moon eclipse.
Wow.
Would full moon eclipses affect me in a different way?
Yeah, I would have thought they'd be much more powerful for you, and they would be big moments of change in your life. Specifically, you know, your full moon lunar return, for example, would be a big deal. And, you know, when you get angular lunations as well. What's your moon sign again?
Scorpio.
Yeah. Okay. So probably the last eclipse cycle that we've just moved out of this year would have been particularly profound for you, where you just feel like you can no longer ignore something's really kind of shining in your world in relation to, you know, Taurus and Scorpio themes. And yeah, absolutely, eclipse times will be much bigger for you. You probably find yourself deeply affected, literally by the changing of the moon signs, even on a 2.5 day basis. But definitely around eclipse times, they're far more powerful for you, and far more, you know, those big times of fate in your life, a bit like the Saturn return or the Uranus opposition or something like that. You know, those key transits that we often talk about standing out in people's lives. For you, the eclipses will be those real key change moments. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
I'm also excited about next year because I have a Piscean ascendant, which is Jupiter ruled as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And a Sagittarian moon, and I've got my Saturn return, so I'm very excited about next year. And finally, Pluto leaves Capricorn.
Oh gosh, it just makes me breathe a big sigh of relief every time I think about it.
Oh, it's been hell, isn't it? It's been hell.
Oh, I love that you're both Jupiter ruled people, and you're the people that are hearing this thing. I just think it's brilliant. I love it.
Synchronicity, saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's exciting then, and that you've got and that eclipse in Pisces for you, especially with your Saturn return at the same time, that could be a really powerful time of regeneration or direction change for you, and, you know, possibly in a spiritual direction even, or a musical or something to do with the arts, because of thinking about those Pisces themes and kind of importing those into your experience. Definitely something that I would be journaling, scribbling all over the book or on the digital planner. I would just be well away with that. And just, I love the idea that you can literally kind of dip in just with a couple of bullet points. Like, even if you haven't got time to sit there and journal for half an hour, you know, lots of people have busy lives. That's totally understandable. But just being able to put in a couple of key things, or even just doodle some of the symbols, like, oh, North Node feels really significant for me right now, so I'm going to doodle the glyph for that, and really just kind of start exploring that over the next couple of weeks or something. You know, like, what does the glyph mean? Where does it come from? You know, the etymology of, like, you know, was it Ketu and Rahu, which is like the Vedic names of the North Node and the South Node as well. So yeah, that's exciting. If everyone's happy, I'll wrap up there, and I can send this recording out to other people. Thank you so much for coming. It's really lovely. I'm not sure if anybody's coming along, so it's really nice.
Thank you. It was really nice, really good.
Oh, it's lovely to see you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Nice to meet you, Anna Marie.
Yeah,
nice to see you too.
I think both of you guys are in the Facebook group, actually. That's really nice. Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. Okay, well, have a great rest of your weekend. And
You too.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.